Hi everyone, my name's Anthony Cummins and welcome to this video. Now if you're wondering what this is about, I did a collaboration with a guy called Lymphamy. Let's put it up there, if I've got that right. And I did this collaboration about 3 months ago and it was on ninjas and questions about ninja. So what I did was put this up, send him my information, and he produced a video on his channel. So I'm now returning the favour. So for everybody who's viewing this from my set, my subscribers, click the first link below and it will take you to that video. What I want you to do is go across, watch the video and put some responses in, answer the questions that are there by other people, but of course say, oh, I came over from Anthony Cummins, and of course subscribe and help him out because he does some really good videos and some classic videos on Japanese history. So okay, so what this video is about is me answering the questions from his subscribers so we can have a bit of a bond and a creation of a sharing of information to go across. So let's start. One of the main questions that keeps coming up is, shouldn't ninjas be secret? There's no writing because ninjas should be secret. The manuals couldn't be correct because they should be secret. That's not the case. That's like saying the CIA don't have any manuals. The secret operatives in the UK have never had a training manual. They just do it from their memory. It's absolutely ridiculous, the idea that you wouldn't have a training manual for your spies, especially Japan was getting very professional by the late 1500s. What they didn't write, this is the thing. So if you look at a spy today, they don't write a letter and say, today I'm going to break into this house and I'm going to put a bug in the wall and I'm going to do it, and the guy I'm doing it on is called this and this is who told me to do it. They don't literally write out everything they've been done and then give it over. Whether they do obviously have these records behind modern spying, I'm not sure, but my point is that when you look at the ninja, you don't find documents that say, oh, today I used 10 ninja to infiltrate Bob's house and we murdered Bob and his children and his wife and we stole what we intended to steal. Happy days. That just never happened. But, so there's this black hole in the history of the ninja, this little black hole where we have no evidence, and people say, oh, they mustn't be ninja. You're like, no, that means they weren't literally writing down what they were doing and saying, as I say, today I'm going to infiltrate this house. But what they did do is write down their secret traditions later. So that leads me to the second question about the books. Okay, ninja manuals. Are they real? Are they not? Now the ninja manuals are written down by the descendants of ninjas about 80 years after the war, roughly. A few are early and a few are later, but you start getting to a point where they think, let's start writing all this down in more detail. There are some manuals that are very early, and if their dates are correct, it blows all information out of the water, all arguments out of the water. If their dates are correct, it's the 1560s smack and then straight on the 1580s. If those dates are correct, they've never been proven correct or not correct. All is some people say, I don't believe that's true. Well, why don't you believe that's true? What reason do you have academically? And they're like, I don't believe it. Okay, it's nice that you don't believe it, but that doesn't matter. So what we have is this set of manuals starting from about 1560, if those dates are correct, and then it goes right up to, and then this boom and burst about 80 years after the war, where we get loads of them starting to come in. Now, this is not strange. This is exactly what Japanese culture is like. They write down their manuals in secret. And it's not just ninjas, everyone does it. Actors do it, flower people do it, you know, like Ikebana do it, they have their own. You got archers have their own, military soldiers, they have their own. There are tons of hidensho in Japan. You can get lots of these secret scrolls on almost any subject. Honestly, I found one for acting. There's one published in English for Japanese acting, and it says this is a secret to be passed down in our family. It's just the way it went. So there is no reason why the ninja... In fact, it would be really strange if ninja scrolls didn't exist. If ninja scrolls didn't exist, it'd be like... Then you'd be like, maybe these ninjas are not real. But the fact that they exist, and they're spread out across Japan, and they're from different times, and they basically say similar things, it sort of leads us to, okay, these are the traditions that have been passed down. Yes, there are changes that go with the currents of the time. For example, lots more Confucianism comes into it because you're meant to, like, you know, obey your lord, because that was just the time period they were in. But actually, it's not a surprise that we find these ninja manuals, and it's also not a surprise that we don't find documents saying what physical real ninja of their day did, because it just wouldn't make sense. They wouldn't write that down. So there you go, that answers the why is it secret, why, you know, ninjutsu is secret, and why do they write manuals? Another question that came up is the attire. Now very quickly, because I've said this a million times before, that classic black attire with a black mask came about in the Edo period, basically. That's the period of peace, and probably because towns started to change. What happened is that towns started to have more and more restrictions on them, and people were laced into the town. Then they started to make families get into sections of 5 and look at each other and spy on each other. It became really a tight society. So at this point, the people are known. So if you are literally infiltrating a town in peace times, you know, burgling from your own town, more than likely somebody's going to know who you are. So we start to see a lot more the black masks coming on. They are not ninjas, they're thieves. They're called nusabito, basically. So that black image does exist in Japan, but more realistically it's a much later thing, and it's to do with common thieves, nothing to do with ninja. Ninja is a military role. A common thief, sometimes the word crossover. So when we're talking about the 1500s, we're talking about the military. No, you don't have this black mask and all that. That doesn't exist. In fact, there are two historical examples of ninjas that have been drawn by either ninjas or people at the time, and both of them have them dressed in like a pink red. So one of them has long kimono, just dressed normally but in red kimono, and they're doing their stuff, basically, which means they didn't have an attire at all. And the other one has, again, normal clothes, but we have the baggy pants and the shins that are tied up, but he's wearing pink. So this idea of the black ninja is just a thief from later on. So actually, one of the questions on the video is, well, if samurai would hire thieves, do they then wear the black stuff? Like, no, they would literally wear pretty much their normal clothes. But we do know that, we know this from Portuguese sources, that the Japanese had their fur on the outside, whereas the Western people turn it and have the fur on the inside. So when you see all these documentaries and the people got fur on, in the West actually it was reversed. The leather was on the outside and the fur is on the inside, except around the collar. But the Japan, they had it the other way around. So it says in winter, in the ninja manuals, it says wear fur. In summer, wear something that you're not going to get too restricted and horrible in. So no, they wouldn't be suddenly done up in a ninja suit and run off because they became ninjas. Right, ninja weapons. This always happens. So for you guys who are new from across on the other channel, there's just no evidence of shuriken. There's very little evidence of shuriken, I'd say, being connected with the ninja. There's the smallest amount. But actually, shuriken are more connected with sword schools and things like that. And possibly even just sports. Some people have put across that it might be just a sport. But I disagree with that. I think it's genuinely a secret weapon used by samurai, especially within swordsmanship, to throw and then draw. Boom, and then off you go. So, when it comes to ninja weapons, there's no reason to have hidden weapons. There's not really a reason for a ninja to have a hidden weapon, because nobody should see the ninja. So if you can see the ninja, there's no, and he needs to hide something, there's no need for the ninja. There's no reason you would see the ninja. So that doesn't make sense. It never has made sense. So for example, the kunai, you get a kunai and throw it. Kunai in the ninja manuals are about 3/4 of a meter long, roughly. And you spike them in the ground and you create crossing with wires, and you create bridges with them. So you don't throw them. These things are massive. Basically, where do we get ninja information from when it comes to tools and equipment? The Bansen Shukai, the Book of Ninja, is one of the biggest sources we have of ninja tools, but it's not the only one, and there are plenty of other manuals. And normally it's floating devices, climbing tools, poison gases, grenades, things like that. So when you're thinking about ninja, get it out of your mind that they've got these secret tools that flip and change and they throw. That isn't true. They mainly have tools that they can do their job with. For example, burning holes in walls so they can get through, chisels, drills, saws, and they do have explosives. So once they're through, they can start throwing explosives about. So really, the ninjas don't have their own specific weapons. They just have the weapons of the time that they use depending on the situation. So we do know that ninja manuals prefer to say use basically a shorter sword so you can get in there and you can fight indoors. So when it comes to ninja weapons, that's just normal weapons. But when it comes to ninja tools, there are very specific ninja tools that are used for the very specific job of breaking and entering, and or say, for example, invisible inks and things like that. So I hope that answers that question. Kunoichi, everybody returns to this question. Anthony, female ninja. We have very little evidence for female ninja. I'm sorry girls, it's just so little evidence. And the problem you've got with this is the kunoichi are not considered shinobi proper. By that I mean the living spy. In Sun Tzu's 5 types of spy, you got the professional, top-end living spy. Kunoichi are basically sluts. Sluts of doom. So we only have one place it says kunoichi at the minute, which there are other places, but it's all copied from this one place, which is a Bansen Shukai. It's literally copied verbatim from there. And basically it says what you should do is get yourself a fit-looking girl, put her in the enemy's house, get her to like wiggle her bum a bit, and it doesn't, obviously I'm paraphrasing here, it says wiggle her bum a bit, and she'll like get the attention of the master. She can do all the little bits, possibly sleep with him, and then she opens the doors at night to his room or signals where he sleeps. You go in, murder him, everybody's happy, she leaves, or screams and says, oh, intruder, you know what I mean, like that's what kunoichi is. So get rid of this idea that there's this super secret feminine ninja spy girl out there doing the same as the men. They may have done, but we have very little evidence for that. We've got a small amount of evidence to say there was one woman who was practicing and training ninjutsu, but it's so scant, it's just a name that's female. So, you know, it's really not much to go off. Will the image change in Japan and will it change in the West? Guys, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing it so we do change the image. And actually, we've had quite a good success. It's not the success I was hoping for, which was like everybody would be like, okay, we need to really understand this. But we've had a good change in the ninja community's understanding since I started. When I came, it was ninja stars, people dressed in black, karate gis with black thingy, throwing stars, doing hand-to-hand combat and saying, oh, this is my ninja lock, and I disappear under their hand because I'm doing a ninja lock, and all sorts of drivel that was literally coming out. Since then, luckily, I've searched and I've got people looking across the websites, and basically there's nobody now saying it's hand-to-hand combat. That people are saying shuriken may or may not, they're around, but we're not quite sure. And all the people who are directly involved with ninjutsu have now all come on board with the fact that it's espionage, spying, infiltration, that sort of stuff. So we are slowly but surely changing the image. And in Japan, there's a university called Mie University have started, and they are changing it. However, in Japan, change is very slow. You can't really be abrasive. I'm quite abrasive when it comes to change. I'm like, no, stop, stop. Not historical, but in Japan, they can't quite say that. Everything's like, oh, yes. So if somebody does something not historical, then the people who are like, no, that's not right, are going, oh, that's very nice, very good. Which basically means, okay, but it's the polite way of saying, like, you know, no, that's wrong. So it is changing very slightly in Japan, but it's changing faster in the West. But for me, it needs to change much faster. So there's one question that asks, is there an event in history where we know the ninja made a major change? Now this is back to the first question. We don't really have it written down where they say they made this. We've only got later accounts, sometimes 100 or 120 years later, that says we have this oral tradition that ninjas were used at this time. So there's one account which is of Takeda Shingen, and it says some of his ninja left him and he had to get other ninja from his other department to go and get them, and they fought it out. But it wasn't really decisive in world history, but it's one of the only events that we know of where they talk about ninjas, but it's written later on. However, what we do know is that Ieyasu, Tokugawa Ieyasu, apparently would spy on both his own people and the enemy, which meant he knew he had ninjas everywhere, basically, everybody. Probably Kanja, which is a form of spy, and he had them all over, and he was like, okay, I need info reports, and that's probably why he won a lot of what he did, because he was allegedly spying on everyone. Okay, the final question, which is always the question that comes up, is modern ninja masters, are they real? I no longer answer this question. I only have the same statement, which will make it time and time again, is this. There is no proof anywhere that any claimant has anything like a realistic lineage. Nothing has been put forward anywhere to show anyone has a claim of an unbroken lineage back to ninjas. Now, you can spot a fake by if they teach martial arts as ninjutsu. If they teach or have ever taught martial arts as ninjutsu, shuriken as ninjutsu, straight swords as ninjutsu, then straight swords is a difficult one. But basically if they say straight swords is a ninja sword, then you're starting in the point of no, dubious. So shuriken, straight swords, black uniforms and hand-to-hand combat scream suspicious, basically. That's not to say shuriken didn't exist, they did. That's not to say straight swords didn't exist, there are examples. And that's not to say hand-to-hand combat didn't exist, they did. We all know that the ninja must have done hand-to-hand combat, but they didn't have their own special ninja combat. They just used whatever. So for example, there's a very famous revenge story in Iga, and some of the people in Iga got involved. It wasn't only Iga people though, you have to be aware of this, and they used Shinkage Ryu. So there's one guy whose Shinkage Ryu comes along. So there's different schools are being pushed around, even in the ninja area. So you've got to be careful. It's not a case that ninja don't use hand-to-hand combat, it's they don't have anything specifically different to what other schools have. They just also have ninjutsu. Okay, remember guys, go down, click the link, get over, subscribe to the other channel. It's really a good channel and it's got some good videos. I hope you've enjoyed this video. A little bit long, but I've tried to explain what I couldn't explain in the comments on his video. So let's hope those people who asked the questions came over. So please, if you're with me, go over, say Anthony has just produced a video and then send them here. Thank you very much guys. See you later.